Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm your host this week, Bill Hirschman. I'm founder and chief critic of FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. And I'm joined this week by our usual cast of characters, and characters they are. To start with, our producer, actress, director, amazing list of credits, Iris Acker. Next to her is the incredible actress, Karen Stevens. And sitting next to me is our Renaissance man whose list of credits would take the entire half hour, Michael McKeever. We are very honored today to do a special program on what it's like to start a $1 million theater from absolutely scratch. Our guest today, and we're very honored to have her, is Marilynn Wick, the founder of the brand new The Wick Theatre and Costume Museum World, et cetera, up in Boca Raton. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Bill. It's wonderful to be here.
I want to start off, I have heard you tell the story of Costume World and the Wick Theatre, which takes about 35 minutes. And we only have 30, or actually 28 now. Okay. Can you just give a little roundup of the last few months when you decided to start a new theater, what your focus was, and what the process was of creating a theater from nothing?
Well, actually, the focus was the fact that we wanted to preserve the historical wardrobes of the Costume World collection, and we had started a museum around 3 years ago. So that was, we were looking for a home for the museum that the whole public could actually come to. We were in a location that was not possible. And we were so excited when we realized that there was a wonderful place in Boca Raton, Florida, the old Caldwell Theater that had been closed for over a year. So that was our first adventure. We looked at that and decided, well, not only would we have a museum, but we actually would have a theater as well. And that was pretty challenging, believe me.
Could you tell, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You were going to have a follow-up?
Well, I was going to ask, what was the process then of I want to start a theater and a costume and an expanded costume museum?
Well,
what was the process?
Well, the process was the due diligence of actually could it work, why the Caldwell Theater didn't work, and why would we go into a location like that if someone else had actually failed. And they were a very old, established theater in Florida, period. So it was quite an adventure. It was about 8 months of really hard work trying to see if we could actually put the footprint down to make that facility really work for our needs.
And how did you do that? What is it that you think that you're bringing to this that's going to make this work?
Well, when I knew how successful the museum was without advertising, and I felt that if the theater couldn't make it or had some complications in making it, that the museum would carry it. And until we had a couple years under our belt, then we could move forward. And if we could make enough revenue pools to really make that facility work. And so we came up with them, the gift shop, the museum, the tours, the Tavern on the Green, and then give good musicals, good theater that we felt the public wanted. We did a research of all the old Caldwell subscribers, and they all wanted music. They all wanted this to be a music center for them. And I felt with their encouragement, and I've had a lot of encouragement, that that's how we decided to make that decision.
And you know, Marilynn, I found it's so unique because what you're selling is a whole day. You're selling the museum tour.
Right.
Let's have lunch, and now let's go to the theater. So you're pushing a matinee crowds,
right?
And they're coming, aren't they? We discussed it just recently, how that's working so beautifully.
We've already, when we opened, we only had the one production, Sound of Music, and the museum was being built. We did this entire project. We started April 1st. And we had made a commitment that we would get the facility opened by September 19th was our first production. And already you had to understand that we had already booked over 50 tours. So the tours are coming in very rapidly. And with this many people seeing it and understanding about what we're trying to do to preserve the American musical theater wardrobes and hopefully to present some of those original wardrobes on the stage is really a plus, and they're very excited about it. And it's a wonderful place to raise money for their causes.
Exactly. That's something else. They use it as fundraisers.
They're using it as
They
fundraiser.
tag on a couple of bucks, and
Yes,
that's
and away they go. And they had been using it as a fundraiser when we were in Pompano. It was kind of an automatic thing. Quite honestly, when I started the museum, I really never thought that. I thought, well, I'll just show it to young people that are in education and bring our high school and educational groups in. But it caught on. And I didn't realize how actually it was a surprise to me. I was going to use it to store the extraordinary wardrobe, and instead it really surprised me that so many people were so interested in the wardrobe. And I thought, well, this is going to be wonderful. But of course, we were in the wrong location, and we were in a warehouse zone.
but they came anyway.
But they came anyway. And people would drive up and say, Ethel, we're in the wrong place. And she would say, we aren't. We're in the right place. And the minute they would walk in, everything was okay. Now, of course, you have no idea how exciting it is now to have people come to this museum because it's so wonderfully displayed, and we have a long ways to go. There are projects going on. Summer, we'll be busy all summer doing our new things.
Well, let's talk about the museum itself. How does it work? Are these smaller tours of 5 to 10, 20? And what do you actually have? What are some of the displays that you have in the museum?
Well, first of all, I owned 35 original Broadway wardrobes, and that is many. We chose the ones that we felt were most desirable because we moved out of a 17,000 square foot facility into 11,000. And we wanted to display them differently, and hopefully we would make it so that everyone, young and old, would appreciate something in the museum that they could relate to. Like children can relate to Into the Woods and Cinderella, and ladies love the period clothes, so they can see Titanic, they can see
My Fair Lady.
Fair Lady, Once Upon a Mattress. And when you enter the museum, it's wonderful because we have a tour guide who gives the music, and then the curtains open, and it's really like a production.
It is.
Bill, you came. Did you enjoy it?
I was blown away. I was blown away. One of the things I'm curious about back at the theater is you talked about you're doing musicals. You're doing very mainstream, popular, well-recognized works. They are very similar to the works that are being done at the Maltz in Jupiter and at Actors Playhouse down in Coral Gables. What is it that you think you're bringing to this that will differentiate you from them, or is it simply a matter of geography that you think audiences won't drive that far?
Well, I decided that it was geography. I think if you give good quality products, good quality performance, people will come, and if they come and they see this, they're thinking, well, maybe I don't have to drive all the way to Jupiter if I'm a local person. I live in Boca Raton. One of the most unbelievable things that I have seen is that we're pulling a lot of young people. And that really makes me feel great. That not everyone is retired that comes to the Wick Theatre.
Rumor has it, Marilyn, that you picked the show according to which costumes you would think would be displayed the best on stage.
Well, actually, that's wrong. It's a wrong rumor. I have to tell you that the next production is 42nd Street. And we are very excited about doing it because we have probably mounted the costumes that are going to go on the stage here at least 35 times in other large cities because we have the wardrobe and people come in and they rent them. So we're so excited to actually do the show ourselves and to actually see it on stage ourselves that I said to Kim, do you think we're going to have to make something new? And she said, I hope not. Because we really want to see these beautiful things for ourselves on stage. Remember, when you're in the costume business, you very seldom get to see your work in my rental business unless you actually physically go and put the show in. And maybe that would happen maybe 5 times in a year, because the costume designers fly in here from all over the country, pull their wardrobes, and out the door they go. And then we never see the show. So we're excited. Now we're creating our own market here. We're going to be able to costume these wonderful things. And I do have some kind of dream of seeing Titanic on the stage because the clothes are beautiful.
Yes.
And they're so period. They're right up there with Downton Abbey.
Are the original costumes?
Yes,
Actually, the costumes that were worn on Broadway.
on Broadway.
They did in Sound of Music, your opening show.
Yes.
Sound of Music. Those were the costumes worn by whom?
Well, the Sound of Music was totally a variety of different works. In 2005, when I bought Dodger, the largest and oldest established costume house in the country, founded in 1863, their wardrobe was so deep and massive that, for example, you could do The King and I, and The King and I, of course, went for years and had many revivals. And the most astounding thing is the beautiful gown that we all love, Anna. I have that gown 6 times, and 6 times someone famous different wore it, because some people, famous people, don't stay sometimes the run. So someone will take the place, and now you have 6 of those gorgeous gowns. So Titanic was not a big success on Broadway.
No, it wasn't.
And the clothes were the big success, I think. They're beautiful. And we are looking forward to maybe someday doing that production.
Ta-ta, that's brave.
Yeah, very, very brave.
Why not?
Like Dracula we own that, and that ran how many weeks? 6 weeks on Broadway or something. So we have that wardrobe. We won't be doing that.
Well, the clothes from the turn of the century are just beautiful anyway.
Yes.
So I mean, even if you just displayed them and had people walk down the street, it would just be great. But I just want to backtrack a little and ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself personally and how you got into costuming in the first place, and how long you've been doing it.
Well, I'll tell you. I loved theater as a child and was on the stage. Once in a while I would get lucky and get a part. And I was in community theater. I lived in Western Pennsylvania, and I always loved musicals, and I played the French horn, so I was very involved in high school. And then, of course, I was blessed with 2 small children, and I wanted to educate them. I put them in Comedy Kids, and we were involved in every little thing that had anything to do with theater that we could find here. We moved here in 1972, and it was pretty limited. So as a home project, we made these 5 Santa Claus suits on our dining room table in Boca Raton and put a little ad in the paper and rented them out. And people came to rent them. And I think I had more fun than the kids. It really was it was a neighborhood project. But I have to tell you, the kids, they liked it. I liked it more. And I kept saying to myself, why, gosh, I like this so much. And so then I decided we'd have maybe a little store. We went to a novelty store to buy the wig and beards. I thought, oh, it'd be fun to have all of this. So as time went on, I decided that I would try to educate myself. And believe me, I'm a backdoor designer. They call me a backdoor designer because I didn't go to college for it. But I loved it and educated myself in it. And over the years, I've bought and collected the best wardrobes I could find. I bought over 10 other costume companies out.
Wow.
And started stockpiling, and I really studied the garments that I bought so I could see how they were properly constructed. And I hired the best people I could find to help me. And if you love something, there's never been a moment that I woke up and said, oh, I really don't like what I'm doing. I love it. So you have to love it and have a passion. And my daughter has the same passion, thank heavens. So because this is, most wardrobes that I've bought out are inherited wardrobes, maybe third or fourth generation. The Eves Brooks collection, Dodger, it was a sixth generation family that owned it over the years.
Yes.
And that's what I'm hoping for my family.
But you've got shops all over the country.
Yes. So we have stores, and we bought all the Pittsburgh costume shops out in the early 80s. Then we inherited a Buffalo store, and so we went there and ran that. Then we decided we had to get out of the cold a little bit, so we went to, I really like it here in Florida, it's warm. So then we started Houston, and that was a fabulous market. They have lots of money in Texas for the arts. Beautiful, beautiful schools that really support the arts. And high school and educational theater is about 10 steps above the Florida market. And then we have a big store in Dallas. It's been there since 1987. And a store in Austin. That's the newest store. And so these large state-of-the-art costume houses is an experience to go in and actually see what you can pick. In the old days, the costume business was a very closed-door operation. You would go in and say, hey, I want to be a nurse. And somebody in the back would come out with a little box, and they'd show you the nurse's costume. You weren't allowed to pick out the nurse. You had to actually go and, well, I guess this is a nurse I'm going to be. I guess it fits me, I'm taking it. And that's how it was across the country. I wanted to change that. I wanted people to have an experience when they come to a costume shop. And so all these stores I bought were kind of closed like that. We opened all the boxes, hung all the clothes, and people came and enjoyed themselves, and it was an experience. And that's what I want the theater to be.
One of the things that's interesting is you've had this experience, these decades of experiences on one part of the theatrical world.
Right.
But this is a whole different operation. You are starting a theater from scratch, and you are in charge. And I know that you've heard people snipe from behind, what does she know about running a theater?
True.
You know,
And some of those people have been right.
Talk a little bit about what
Okay.
it's like. What were some of the surprises? What did you learn that you didn't know when you were actually getting this up and running?
Well, let me tell you what I've learned. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And I will tell you, I have unbelievable respect for people who are in the theater world. A little bit different respect than I had for them last year.
In what ways?
Well, I'll tell you. Well, first of all, you have to make very good decisions. You have to have wonderful auditions. I've learned that you have to. It's a fine line all the time, I see, and it has been trying. I was driving one day back to Costume World from the theater, and when I walked in, I said, wow, I'm really glad I did this for 35 years. Meaning, this has been probably the largest challenge I've ever had. I've owned other companies. I'm really a business entrepreneur person. And I have to tell you, this is pretty challenging every day. And I'm learning very quickly.
Give an example.
Well,
Specifics.
for example, the production, the music and how we should hear it is really sound, lights, the right light designer. I have actually been, and the sets right now to me are the most complicated because you have to have the right person to do them, then you have to build them. We now are setting up our own scene shop and building our own sets.
Whoa, that's ambitious.
It's very ambitious. But remember, when we bought the Codwell, we wound up with all the tools to do all that. We also wound up with all the props and all the drops. and we stored them all in the old museum. We moved the museum over. Now we are working diligently on making a wonderful production studio where you would be able to come have the audition, music room, rehearsal, props, seeing everything under one roof. It's a 25,000 square foot facility. It can actually house this, and our garments have been racked and put now in a different place. So that has been very challenging. The whole project has been challenging, and the unbelievable cost of all of this.
Uh-huh.
Yes, the secret. What you think you're going to pay, you're going to always pay 3 times more. And you're not going to forget that. So the next time you do it, you will pick maybe some smaller shows.
Right.
You know, the season here is very healthy, meaning one big production after another. And we did that. We knew that that would be very expensive, but we decided that we would do that to make a statement, to give people a chance to see what we really could do and to expose them to what we're all about. When you come to the Wick Theatre and you come to see White Christmas, you come into, hopefully you will feel like you're in Vermont. We started baking the cookies yesterday and giving everyone a glass of milk in the beginning of at the intermission, and they loved it. You know, it's an experience. So when you come to see 42nd Street, you're going to see a little bit of New York in the lobby. We're going to bring out some of our memorabilia that we haven't exposed. So we want you to have an experience when you come to see it.
You were talking about some of the challenges of starting a theater. What's been some of the rewards? What's some of the more rewarding aspects of
Well, the rewards have been the audiences. And I have never, the rewards when people come out and tell you how much they love it, you think, well, we've done a good job, thank you. I hope the critics like it too. You know, this is always my thought. Of course, I guess that can make or break you. And how do you get the word out to the public? The proper way to do it. In our changing technical time, you have to be really up on that. And that is a huge challenge for me. When you're in a business like the costume business, you don't have 50,000 people you're being in competition with. You're hoping that you're meeting the media, and usually there's only one big costume house in a city. So now we have put a big billboard on I-95. We thought it was time to do something a little different. We've tried to expose ourselves to all of the newspapers. And is that really how people know? People really, really tell each other if they like something. Word of mouth is everything. How did the museum get off the ground for 3 years with not being allowed to advertise?
Exactly, it's all word of mouth.
It was all word of mouth. Groups and people who love theater tend to talk, and the internet. The internet is the secret.
The theater itself is so beautiful.
Yes.
You walk into that lobby with the crystal chandeliers that you've inherited.
Yes.
And what you've done with it. And the gift shop that you have. Do you know that when our people didn't even know there was a gift shop, I was going to say, Marilynn, it has to be directed. People have
Yes.
to. That in itself is an experience. It's experience after experience. And
Thank you.
the costumes are the draw as far as the museum. There is no other costume museum like that, I don't think, in the country.
There isn't. And because no one owns the wardrobes.
Like that.
You have to have the clothes.
Yes.
The value of the museum will eventually pull people into the theater. I got up the other day and spoke to the people in the tavern after when they were having their lunch, and we had 40 people, and only 6 were going to go see the show. But by the time it was over, 20 went.
We should point out when she's talking about tavern, there is a room that has been in which a great deal of the decoration is literally taken from Tavern on the Green itself, and you serve a luncheon there to the people who come through on the tour.
It's when the Tavern on the Green went under in New York, I said to Kim, no one will ever come out here to this warehouse unless we have served food. Because every group calls, and what do you think they say? Where around there can we go for lunch?
Right.
So I thought, well, okay. So we got the chandelier, the entrance to the Tavern on the Green. We went to the auction and we received that. And then we bought the dishes, silverwares, linen, and so many, 75% of the people here are from New York, and they have had wonderful experiences there, and it thrills them to come
Sure.
and have the luncheon there.
Well, you've got this incredible complex now. You've got not only the museum, you've got this wonderful restaurant, and you've got this terrific theater as well.
Yes, so all of it together will be a challenge to run effectively. We now employ 68 people there.
Wow.
The workshop, do you still have the workshop?
The workshop, no, right this minute we're not doing the workshop.
No, I'm where they're, yeah, okay.
Okay?
Sewing the costumes, fixing.
Oh, no, we still have the big theater division, yes, where
That's
they're
what I
making,
meant, that
yes.
workshop,
We
yes.
definitely have a big production studio. We employ, in Costume World, we employ 60 full-time people. And the theater now has a new addition when the crew, the actors, the wardrobe people, the luncheon folks, the tour guides, the house manager, and the box office, we have like 60 people.
Wow.
I had all these paychecks the other day and said, wow.
Well, I told you that you would do this, and we could go another hour and a half. And I've heard her speech. She can go easily a half hour.
Oh, I hope I did okay.
You did fine.
Great.
You did fine. I want to take this opportunity to thank Marilynn Wick and
Thank
our
you.
usual cast of characters to come in and discuss what it's like starting a new theater from scratch. I want to thank all of you for having come here and listened to us this week, as we hope you do every week. We want to encourage all of you to go to as much local theater as humanly possible and provide paychecks for all of these people. If you're wondering what to go see, check out the calendar on floridatheateronstage.com. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week at Spotlight on the Arts.